Welcome to DFC on the Green. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Chris Etherington. Taking a look at the RBC Heritage picks. A little bit of a dwindle downfield, just given this is after the Masters, but I guess a few kind of top names. I'm a little bit surprised. I think you are too, Dustin Johnson. Being at this tournament here.
Yeah, like I was saying, I kind of get it why he is here. He is the RBC sponsor. He's a South Carolina native, although this is like his first time being at this event in a while. And it's just one of those things with the tour where if you haven't played here or played at any event in the last 4 years or so, they kind of want you to play there. So for me, I think this might be the week where I may fade all the top guys above 10,000. Kuchar's a hard look right now, but other than Kuchar, I think I'm just going to start my lineups with Webb Simpson, and yeah, that's pretty much going to be my play this week.
Yeah, I think when you look here, there's a lot of potential winners and top 10 guys kind of scattered throughout, really various salary ranges. I think if I was looking up top, I don't mind Kuchar at 10-8. If you're building a ton of lineups, obviously you can get some exposure there. But yeah, I like Webb Simpson there. I like Harman as well at 9,800. I definitely don't mind starting lineups, kind of skipping over the first few guys.
Yeah, when you look at both Brian Harman and Webb Simpson, they both have really solid course history. Like with Harman, I mean, he has 2 top 10s here in the last 4 years. And if you look at Simpson, I mean, he finished 11th here last year. He made 3 cuts in a row here, and he's actually putting very well this year using the Kuchar method. So with looking at that and looking at their stats, I mean, Webb Simpson is in the top 10 in the field for birdies a better percentage, and he's 20th for approaches, and he's also 30th for scrambling around the greens. That's probably the one stat I'm really looking at this week outside the other 5. I think strokes getting around the green is going to be vital for the players to make the cut and also contend. These greens are smaller than most on tour, so you need your guys to scramble this week to score well.
And then this is kind of a range you're looking at quite a bit here. You mentioned Cameron Smith is another guy you don't mind in cash this week. Should be pretty popular given the terrific performance at the Masters. But outside of that, I mean, been in decent form. Outside of missing the cut, the Arnold Palmer, he's been pretty solid. Going to be once again extremely popular just due to last weekend.
Yeah, it was last week, and also he's played her twice before. He made the cut both attempts, and that includes a top 15 finish back in 2015. So just be aware of the ownership. He should be the highest owned of these guys for sure. I think one of the good pivot options is just above him, Patrick Cantlay. He finished 3rd here last year. He's 8th in the field for off the tee, and he's 29th in the field for par 4 scoring. So if you want to use a slight leverage play off of Cameron Smith, I wouldn't mind going to Cantlay right there. I can't imagine Cantlay being that above 15, maybe 17% in ownership in the $5 tournament this week.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I definitely think Cantlay's in play. That's why I don't mind Harman either, who is a little bit more expensive. And you talk about Luke List here in a GPP, similar price range.
Yeah, I think Luke List is going to be one of those guys that I'm going to play a lot this season. He just seems to be knocking on the door for that first win. And I want to be there when it happens. And if you look at his stats, I mean, he's in the top 10 in the field in 4 of the stats that I'm looking at this week. His best is being the par 4 scoring. He's 4th in the field for that one. But yeah, if you look at it, his course history, it's not that good. He made a cut here in 2016. But he missed the cut last year. But he's definitely a better player than he was last year, and then years prior to that. So, like I said with Cantlay, I think Luke List might be that nice pivot option away from Cameron Smith. He's just going to be probably pretty close to 40%, I would think, for Smith. So if List is going to be like half of that, I'm all in for sure.
Well, I mean, a couple guys in this, higher 8K range definitely playable this week. Emiliano Grillo is a guy that I have some interest in, 8,600. Been in really solid form of late. A couple of top 10s over his last few tournaments. T3 at Houston. I don't mind him here. Like, I think he's a sneaky guy at 8,600, especially with like Ryan Moore right there. Just a little bit more expensive. You have guys like Smith and Cantlay and List and stuff. Grillo might be a little bit overlooked.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Grillo. The only thing that scares me a little bit for him is his strokes gain around the green. He's not that good right now, but outside of that, I mean, he's 8th in the field for par 4 scoring. He's 9th in the field for a better percentage. He hasn't played here before, so I think with him being next to Kevin Kisner, who should be slightly popular, and then with Adam Hadwin being below him, I think Grillo makes sense. As for me, I think I kind of like Ryan Moore a lot. He's 10th in the field for around the green, and he's 6th in the field for par 4 scoring. And then same with Grillo. He hasn't played here in the last 5 years. So as for me, Ryan Moore seems to be that type of golfer that I kind of like this week, outside of like Webb Simpson or Luke List. I think Ryan Moore might be my third guy after those two. I really like him going forward.
Yeah, I do too. Like, this is a range where I'm going to probably stick in a lot and just kind of build some balanced lineups with a lot of these guys here. Because, there's a few more, like, you mentioned Hadwin, he's 8,100. He's I think he's the guy this week that I'm not going to really care much about ownership. I'm just going to be kind of getting my exposure to Hadwin because, like, I feel like he's been on the verge of, potentially closing in and kind of rounding out one of these tournaments if he can just kind of finish on the 4th day. But he's been playing really well.
Yeah, he definitely seems to have found his putter again, what helped him win the Felspar last year. And he played very well at the Masters. I think it was a top 20 finish, if I'm not mistaken. And then if you look at his course history here, he made the cut here the last 2 years, both of them finishing inside the top 30. So I get it, 8,100. It kind of reminds me of like a Kuchar being below 8,000 last week at the Masters, where everyone's going to flock to him. It seems like. But if you look at Hadwin's stats, I mean, he's in the top 10 in the field for 3 of the stats that I'm looking at. He's 4th for strokes gained around the green and 4th for par 4 scoring. So, yeah, if you're doing like a 3-entry max type of tournament, I think maybe putting him in 2 of the 3 and just making that one unique lineup without him in it kind of makes sense. But yeah, you just kind of have to at least be with the field, if not go overweight, or perhaps just going 100% on Hadwin. He's definitely looking like he's very close on winning this season.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like, I feel like that next step is potentially this weekend. And Kevin Na's interesting, 8,200. A guy who hasn't really played a ton this year, but he's kind of more of a course history guy. Couple top 10s here, has that top 5 back in 2016. That's kind of all you're playing him for, really, is the course history here.
Yeah, and basically the scrambling helps. He's second in the field for strokes gained around the green. Um, but outside of that, I mean, he's just okay. The only thing that scares me a little bit is off the tee. He's not that good right now. But if you just focus on the course history with his price, 80 to 100, I mean, if he banks another top 10, I mean, that basically surpasses his value right there. So, and he might be slightly overlooked being between Bryson and Hadwin, who will be more popular, I think, than Kavanaugh.
Yeah, and like you even have a couple guys like Chappell and Zach Johnson who will draw some ownership. I don't mind those guys in like cash games. Probably more leaning on Zach Johnson there than anything.
Yeah, I think with Zach's history here and the name value as well, I think more people will go to him. Me personally, I think I kind of like Chappell a little bit better. Every time I play Zach Johnson, it always seems a disappointment where he's barely making the cut or he's just blowing the cut and that's it. He really does well every time I play him. So I think this week I'm just going to fade and take my chances on Chappell, who's basically in the second in field for two of the stats that I'm looking at. One being off the tee and the other one being par four scoring. So with that, I think I'm going to pick Chappell and hope for the best on that one.
Anyone else in this range that we glossed over at all?
The only two guys I kind of like who are just a bit cheaper, the Chappell, is Charlie Hoffman and Sander Schauffele. I think Schauffele is kind of like Hadwin, is on the verge of getting his second win on the tour. He's starting to get his rhythm back again. I've always liked playing him. And for Hoffman, he's kind of like I don't want to say the new Matt Kuchar for making the cut and getting like the top 10 or top 15 or something like that. You know what you're going to get out of Hoffman. He's a really good ball striker, and he seems to be playing a lot better this season than recent years. He's second in the field for proximity. He's 12th in the field for par four scoring. So I think those two guys and Chappell are going to be the guys that I like in the upper 7,000 range.
What about kind of working into the mids here? Like, there's a couple names to worth mention. You got like Francisco Molinari at 7,500, James Hahn, but you look at Hahn, like he's been solid. He kind of doesn't grade out that well for the stats that you're looking at this week.
No, I mean Hahn is okay. It's just one of those guys that he'll basically rank okay in your model, and you look at his course history, and it's meh. Like he missed the cut here the last 2 years, and then outside of that, he's basically finished near the bottom of the field. I really just don't trust James Hahn for some reason. I just never have a good feeling with him. And then Francesco, you're just getting basically a good ball striker out of him. You're just hoping a putt or two to fall in. He's made the cut here in the last 2 years, but I think I'm just going to look elsewhere in this range.
What about guys like Schneider Jans? You got Snedeker, Kokrak, Keimer, McDowell. Anyone stand out to you here?
I think just a bit cheaper than those guys. I think Bud Cauley kind of makes sense a little bit this week. If you look at his course history here, I mean, he finished in the top 10 last year. And then if you look at his stats, I mean, he's 12th in the field for strokes gained around the green, and he's 23rd in the field for birdie a better percentage. So I think this might be the range where you kind of have to make a stance on, just because there are a lot of names in here that are very similar types of golfers that should do pretty well this week with the type of course that this is. For me, I think Collie is going to be that guy. And yeah, I'm kind of have to fade the rest here. I just I'll pick Collie over Scott Piercy at this point. And it's a little scary, but I might pick Collie over CH3, even though CH3 is playing well. But I think he's going to be a little too popular for my liking down here.
Yeah, like I think cash games you can definitely roll how they're like. I think everyone else, like you said, like I'm going to be fading some of the ownership guys. I think the only one I'll be wearing to kind of spare the ownership on is Kevin Streelman at 7,300. He's a guy that I'm liking a ton. Probably one of my more key value guys for this week.
Yeah, it's weird that he hasn't played here the last 2 years, but outside of that, I mean, between 2013 and 2015, I mean, he finished third here back in 2013. So for Streelman to still be in 7,300, like, you kind of have to play him a little bit. He's 12th in the field for par 4 scoring, 9th in the field for proximity. So, yeah, I kind of like that play. Nice pivot option. He's never that highly owned, maybe 10% at the most if he gets really popular. But he's just that consistent guy that if he hits his irons well, then he should make the cut and have the upside of a top 10 or a top 5 finish.
I mean, I don't see given our strategies kind of aligned this week, like I don't see a need to really completely dive down. Like I'm kind of drawing a line, with Streelman and not really going much lower. I think if I did have an interest in anyone lower, I think Harkins at 7,100 is a little bit interesting too.
Yeah, I was looking at Harkins a lot. As you guys know, he's one of those rookies that I kind of like this season, so I don't mind playing him. The other guy for me, who's basically the same price range, is Chris Kirk. Kind of like Streelman. They just seem to be in this low $7,000 range every week. Yeah, they'll miss the cut here and there, but with good stats coming in, I mean, for Kirk, he's 15th in the field for around the green. He's 23rd in the field for approach the green. So, and if you look at his history, he missed the cut here last year, but he's made the cut 4 years in a row outside of that. So I don't mind Kirk at 7,100 just to get that relief for salary space.
Yeah, I don't either. Anyone else below here?
I was looking down earlier today, and there are some names down here, but maybe Lucas Glover, but he's just kind of on and off this season. You don't know what you're going to get from him. He has made the cut here in 3 years in a row, including a top 20 finish back in 2015. So if you want to take a chance, I think Glover is your guy. But outside of that, yeah, I think Kirk and Harkins might be my cheapest plays this week.
Yeah, there's no real need to kind of go any sort of stars and scrubs, I feel.
Exactly. I think this is the week where just playing the 9K guys just makes a lot of sense. I mean, sure, you got Leishman, who's very reliable. He might win, but like I said earlier, I think Kuchar is your safest option, and I think DJ might be just here just to basically just do his thing for the media and play his 4 rounds, and that's it for him. He might get like a top 20, top 15 finish. He'll be there on the leaderboard, but I just can't see him contending that much. I don't think he's in this tournament to actually win. I think his energy is a little drained from the Masters. So I think this week's the week to fade him.
And being at 12K, that's obviously a concern.
Yeah, you're just paying at that price. You're just paying for a top 3 finish, and I just can't see it this week for DJ.
No, I agree. Who do you got win this week?
I think I want to go with Webb Simpson as my outright win, and then for my dark horse, I kind of like Luke List for that one. Like I said, I think he's just knocking on the door. He's bound to win this season, and I just want to be there when it happens.
I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go with Harmon there for my bigger name. Not that I expect him to really be popular, but I think he's obviously decent. Cheaper guy, it's kind of tough. Like I feel like there's so many names here that
I personally think that in the mid 8s is the range where that the winner is going to come out of, like a Bryson or Hadwin or Grillo or Kisner. I think it's going to be one of those guys outside of the big names, obviously.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, I guess if it's I wouldn't call Hadwin a dark horse, but if you're choosing like below the bigger names, Hadwin would probably be the guy.
Yeah, he's sort of on that fence of being of your like a one and done, or if you want to use them as the dark horse, you can. But I would go like a Bryson as a dark horse if you want to take that route.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, there really are so many viable options in that range.
Exactly. There's just a lot of names in here. I think sure there might be a couple that might be surprising for missing the cut, but I think overall it should be a fun one this weekend. Just to see if these guys are at the top of the leaderboard this week.
Yep, and I mean, still some good GPPs, over on DraftKings this week. There isn't really I mean, obviously, there's no million makers, but it's not a huge decline. Like, there's still a pretty good draw of tournaments to be played this week.
Yeah, they got the 3 major ones, the $5, the 44, and the 444. So all for a chance to win 100,000 this week. I'm just going to make a few lineups in the $5 and look elsewhere this week for tournaments. Just not going crazy like last week. Just trying to recover, basically.
Yeah, I mean, there's these players, the players that played last week in the Masters. There's obviously a little bit of a downhill coming into a next tournament that doesn't have such a huge atmosphere and takes a lot out of you. And that's kind of the same thing here for us. Like, it's just you're so hyped up to the Masters, and then you kind of come down a little bit back to earth here.
Yeah, and speaking of with the the bankroll management type, you're basically all in at the Masters. You're trying to create a nice ROI for that, and then after that, it's just okay. I'm just gonna do my usual 10% or something, and go on from there and see what happens, and then I'll wait till the next one, which I think is the Players.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, that's, kind of right around the corner. But yeah, I mean, definitely a decent field here. There's plenty of options. It's not like we're dealing with one of those tournaments where there's like, 5 to 8 guys that you really know.
Yeah, those are the weeks where you kind of don't want to play, or just play like 3 lineups at the most and be done with it.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing just to play because you're a degenerate.
Exactly. Yeah, you're just basically making that one lineup just because it's like, okay, I have to because I can, and yeah, you're just not really hoping for the best.
Yeah, you need something to do over the weekend.
Yeah, so. you need something.
That's going to wrap it up for us. You can head over to dailyfantasycafe.com. You can check out Chris's article for cash GPPs this week, and good luck.